It's a very random fact, especially for a set of modules like this. But did you know that we know more about the surface of Jupiter than we know about our own deep oceans? It's a bit of a shocker. Jupiter is a bit further away than our deep oceans. Why is it that we don't know this much about them? Well, the answer is it's really difficult to get there with crushing pressures and things that we don't, great big sea creatures and ravines and mountains and valleys and things we don't even know about. Our deep sea is a wondrous place. I guess the first place we could think of as an inner space rather than an outer space for our planet. And so one of the things that people are using is drones to actually go and map the seafloor. We have people that go down in submersibles. We have people like James Cameron, for example, who actually has his submarine that went down into the Mariana Trench, the deepest place in our oceans. Pretty scary stuff. And as researchers, the idea of having multi-million dollars to spend on a submarine just doesn't happen inside research budgets. And so every year, researchers clamour to get access to these kinds of equipment for a day or a week or a month at a time. And then for years, they have to wait for their go again. But what if we could actually have drones that could do this kind of research for them? Well, we do. We have the ability now to send drone submarines down to do mapping. We're now even developing ways in which drone submarines can actually take samples and bring them back to the surface. Traditionally, though, these things aren't necessarily called drones. They're called ROVs, remotely operated vehicles. And they typically are attached to a boat using umbilical cord, which has got like power cable in it so they can constantly keep the thing running around. I like the idea that we can actually help protect our marine environment using these kinds of robotics. And here in Australia, there was a robot developed called the Cotspot. The Cotspot is a drone in that it's completely automated and has its own systems that it operates within, and a human being doesn't have to be anywhere near it. And it swims around the Great Barrier Reef looking for things called the crown of thorns starfish. These are starfish that are about that size. They're not the friendly starfish that you know and love. They're big, mean, coral-eating machines. And the last thing we need on the Great Barrier Reef is another thing affecting the health of our reef. And so unfortunately, though they are native species, when a nutrient imbalance happens on the reef, we get a bloom of these crown of thorns starfish. And it can be devastating to reefs that have managed to survive increased temperatures, pH fluctuations, and nutrient fluctuations to then get eaten by cots. So this robot swims around, has lights on it so it can operate at night as well, and it uses something called computer vision. The computer vision allows it to actually see what it's looking at and work out whether what it's looking at is a coral or a cots. If it thinks it's a cots, it heads towards it with its arm that it's got underneath it, and it stabs the crown of thorns starfish with some bile salts. That is a bit like putting salt on a slug. It makes the crown of thorns starfish immediately shrivel up and drop off the coral that it's been eating. So who would have thought? The idea of having drones not only mapping our deep oceans so we even know what's there, and the key there is we need to know what's in our deep oceans so we can protect it. But we're also using drones to actually kill killer starfish. And so it's a really wonderful thing that these kinds of robotics are able to go to places that humans can't in order to help protect and record and map the natural environment.